Hello and welcome to this very simple quick bite dedicated to method feeder fishing. Something that has completely devastated commercials across the country for so many years. But if it's something that you're not already out there using, this short little video should help you along the way to pick up a few tips. So we'll start off with the real simple, and that is the hardware that you're going to need. Now it is so important to get yourself a dedicated feeder rod. They've got a different action, and the quiver tip at the end is where all of the bite indication is seen. So a little sight helps you see that, and it gives you all the information of what's happening at your feeder. Now for me today, I've got a 12-foot feeder rod. That would cover probably 90% of my fishing situations. And I coupled that with a 4,000 size reel. It's just nice and balanced. Like I said, you don't have to be expensive, but dedicated equipment will make your life so much easier. Line wise, for me today, I've gone £6. It's going to be fine for anything in here, but if I knew the fish were a lot bigger, I would perhaps up that to £8. So there's the simple basics: 12-foot feeder rod, 4,000 size reel, and £6 main line should get you ready for a good day's method feeder fishing. So once you've sorted your hardware, it's time to take a look at the rig. And now this is the beauty about method feeder fishing, because it probably doesn't get any more simple. So I always use this same sort of style of method feeders. There's a couple of variations which I'll talk you through in a second, but basically it's an inline method feeder. So you just thread your line through the method feeder, and then they come with these little method connectors. So a little collar goes onto the line next. That then ties onto your main line, which has got a little hook which you hook your hook link onto, and your hook link wants to be about 4 inches. So doesn't get any more simple than that. I've got a little bait band on there, so I'm just banding a few little boilies or pellets on there. So the only thing that is worth mentioning, the reason why I said I use these styles exclusively, so I use the Matrix interchangeable systems because, one, you can use a standard method feeder, which I use for pretty much everything. But if I am fishing in deeper water, they do an alloy open feeder, which has just got some sides on, so it'll help keep your bait on a little bit better. So a few different sizes, and because they are quick change, if you want to go from, say, a large one to a small one to put less bait in, or the wind picks up, you need a heavy one, it literally takes you seconds to do. So really effective way of fishing, and more importantly, for me and everyone else, so simple to do. You can't really get it wrong. So that brings us on to the baits we're using. Now I've already mentioned that I'm fishing little mini boilies or pellets on the hook. I would go for that to probably, you know, all of my fishing situation, I'd use that. This cast I'm going to go for a little white one. And bait wise, again, I keep really simple. 2 different variations. One is a ground bait, which today I've gone for the Mark Pollard ground bait made by Hinders. And your second option is just some 2mm pellets, which I soak for 2 minutes in water, drain the water off, and then within 15-20 minutes they are all ready to go. If you want to, like I have in this tub, you could mix together a 50-50 mix, but you'll find on each certain day in each certain venue, some will react better to ground bait, some react better to pellets. So it's just a case of finding what they want on the day. Now loading it couldn't be any more simple. First of all, lay your hook bait in the bottom of the mould, fill it up with your chosen bait. This cast I'm going to go for some pellets, and then fold your feeder back over the top of it, making sure that your hook link sticks out at the bottom, so there's no way of any tangles on there. Give it a really good squeeze, and then once it's out of the mould, it's in a perfect way to go. But I do give it one extra squeeze just to make sure it doesn't come off. Now that is all ready to fire out there and hopefully catch us a carp. But just as important is how you land your feeder on the water. Now, the best way I can describe this, you may laugh, is think of Olympic diving in a swimming pool. A big crash and a splash is not what you want. and it won't be presenting how you want it to be. So you want this feed to plop in on the base first, meaning that it's going to stay all compact and get to the bottom as soon as you can. So I'm going to try and put that into action. We're nice and clipped up. I would always use a line clip on your reel. So you cast into the same spot, hit your clip, plop it in, and now do not move your feeder. It's really important at this point to sink your line, but take your time doing it. So if you move that feeder, again, your presentation is gone. What you're looking for, you know, is your feeder to lay there on the bottom in a nice little pile, your hook bait on the top, slowly break down and wait for the carp to come along and find it. So it looks like nothing on that cast, but it brings me to the perfect point, because I always get asked, how long do you leave a cast? Now, there is no hard and fast rule with this, so you are going to have to learn as you get more experienced in angling. But this might sound crazy. One of my best friends when I'm method feeder fishing is actually a stopwatch. Now, as a rough guide, fishing here in the summer, I'm trying to catch a few fish. I'd probably leave a cast between 10 and 15 minutes to start with. That's been out there pretty much 12 now, so I'm going to quickly wind it in and put it out there. But it can be the case of finding out a pattern. So you may find that certainly every time you cast, click the stopwatch on, you may find you get loads of your bites on that particular day after 8 minutes. So if you get to 8 minutes and there's no point leaving it in there for 20 minutes if you know your bite's coming a lot quicker than that. Your rig could have tangled, you could have been picked up and not seen it, and something might not be right. So sometimes just a quick little freshen up can make all the difference in your fishing. And if you can build a pattern up using your stopwatch, you can really start to understand of when you're getting bites. But like I said, as I said, there is no hard and fast rule. If you've got loads and loads of fish in your lake, you might want to be casting every 2 minutes. On the flip side of that, if you're fishing in the freezing cold of winter, looking for 1 or 2 bites a day, you might want to cast every 30, 45 minutes. But use your stopwatch, try and picture in your head what you're trying to catch, what time of year, how many fish are in your particular venue, and you will sort of, like I said, it comes with angling experience, but you will get sort of a picture in your head of how long you're expecting to cast. So apologies, I can't give you a definitive answer, but hopefully I've broken it down a little bit into a way that you can work out how long you should be leaving it. So that one's gone out there nicely. I'm going to sink that line, pop the rod on the rod rest, and let's see if that little freshen up brings us a fish on this cast. Well, that was definitely worth the recast and freshen up the spot. It's starting to give us a little bit of a picture. So that bite on the stopwatch reads 5 minutes. So it now gives me a little bit of indication. Perhaps I should shorten that time to cast down if I don't get a bite. But yeah, it starts to allow you to build up a picture, and definitely make sure you use that stopwatch to your advantage. Right, so one last tip I will give you for when you're method feeder fishing. Perhaps, let's say if you get a little bit more into it and you're fishing matches and you want to be a little bit different to the people either side of you, because obviously there is only so much you can do with a method. Once you've got used to casting it, fishing it in the right locations, the correct bait, you obviously are doing stuff pretty similar to people either side of you. So what I will do is I'll just load this feeder. I'm going to go for a little bit of ground bait and pellet this time, just to mix it up, and just because, try and find what you think is going to be best on the day. It's a bit of an experimental thing, trial and error, but the tip is definitely use liquid enhancements. I've always been a huge fan of that, so I've got 3 of my favourite here now. I'm not saying you have to use any particular one of them, but they're just 3 that come with me anywhere. So let's put some Smart Liquid on this one, and all you need to do is a little squirt over the top of your method feeder, give that a little rub in, and now you've got an extra little bit of attraction than perhaps the person next door has. This works really well when it gets in the colder months. Liquid penetrates the water extremely well, meaning you've got a lot of attraction for not a lot of feed, and that is a really good way of catching fish without filling them up. So could certainly catch you an extra fish or two. Well, there we go. A little bit of liquid has helped us fool that one. And looking at the bite time, 4 minutes and 30. So we are really starting to build up a picture. But there we go, another wicked little common. I'm gonna carry on fishing, but that's probably all the information you need to get out there and give the method feeder a go if you're already not. It's a wicked method, it catches a lot of fish, and it's certainly something to get out there and try.